So I stand up on stage and talk a lot. It's one of those things that has become real easy and natural for me, and it's fun. I was so honored to be asked to do this and to be on stage with this group. And I wanted to challenge myself. Normally, I just kind of talk story like Lance did, and share from the heart. And I started to think about doing that, and then I started writing, and I just kind of kept writing. And so, unlike me usually, I actually have something written, which I'm gonna refer to every now and then, and hopefully I'll draw some ties between the two. The name of this particular Civil Beat Storytellers event is Where I Live. And I was thinking about that a lot as I was reflecting upon what I was going to talk about, where I was going to talk about. And as I was doing that, a lot of memories came flooding back, a lot of memories of different time periods on Maui, different places on the island, a lot of memories of things that are no longer here, smells that I haven't smelt in decades, buildings and stores gone and replaced by new boxes, people from my life gone. But hearing that refrain of Where I Live brought back memories wrapped in a song. And a lot of the work I do, cultural training, employee training, the hospitality work, the work in companies, is all about sense of place. You know, we talk about that a lot, sense of place. And we talk about sense of place connecting to the senses, what you can feel, what you see, what you touch, what you smell, what you hear. And, you know, all us Hawaii people and Hawaiians, you know, we're real musical people, even though I sing terribly. That's the foreshadowing. And when I hear that phrase, Where I Live, it reminds me of a song that most of us from Hawaii know. You know, maybe somewhere deep back in our memory banks, or maybe it's a song, maybe it's something that we still sing today, like I sing it to my children, trying to put them to sleep. It's a song made famous by Peter Moon and the Sunday Manoa that begins with that phrase. And when I think about where I live, I think about growing up in Maui, and nothing reminds me more of growing up country, and I grew up deep haiku, what we just called haiku, you know, than that. Where I live, there are rainbows with life. And if you know it, please sing with me. With life in the laughter of morning and starry nights, I can smile when it's raining and touch the warmth of the sun. I hear children laughing in this place that I love. Okay, so it's not just me. And for those of us growing up in Hawaii in the 80s and the 90s, and surely in the 60s and the 70s, the lyrics of those guys, Peter Moon, Sunday Manoa, Brothers Kaz, you know, the whole cast and crew brought up, you know, they were singing about what Hawaii is in that time. And to me, that's, maybe to a lot of us, it's become the tearful nostalgia and the near regretful longing of the Hawaii that once was. And growing up in Haiku and Paia, once I matriculated out of that Hawaiian lullaby phase, it was another Peter Moon song that could encapsulate a large part of my life. And I think all of us that lived through or in that end of plantation days era, you know, we can recall certain elements of that life that are no longer with us, but they're still ingrained in the fiber of our beings, in the same way that those big torna haulers that were taking the cane from the field to the mill, and the fibrous cane stalks would fall off the back across Baldwin Avenue and across Pu'unene, were fix that fiber into the asphalt, pound it into the pavement as the cars, much less cars, not the Teslas, the beat up old Maui cruisers. Pounded that into the asphalt, the way it's pounded into us. And those are the things I think a lot about. You know, knowing burn day was coming soon when the backhoes and dozers went around the fields and pushed the sides in to make the fire break. Watching the green harvest choppers swoop low over the field, scanning for the croppers, trying to pull their pakalolo out before the field started burning. Forgetting to close your windows on burn day, and then coming home from school with just Maui snow all inside the house. The worst, the smell, just that acrid smell for days. I miss that now. In those days, Paia was a different place. Not quite a town, but not just a village. Now I try to imagine what it would have been like before me, before it turned into the tourist trap mini front street that it is now, before windsurfers, before the Jerry's Kids hippies of the 60s. But as a kid, like, none of that crossed my mind, right? Little else did besides volleyball at Paia Gym, Little League Paia Yankees practice down at Paia Bay. All of us boys just being kolohe, riding our BMX bikes through the cane fields, wearing our Paia Yankees jackets backwards, thinking we were crisscross, playing the Street Fighter arcade games at Ice's Creams and Dreams, what's now Milagros. Okay. You know, it was shave ice and body surfing. It was bond dances and that plantation smorgasbord of languages. Different languages. We have new languages in Maui now. Back then, it was the Filipino dialects of Ilocano and Tagalog. It was Mandarin and some Cantonese. It was Japanese and maybe a little Hawaiian, right? Because the immersion schools were just starting. But it was pidgin. It was hardcore. New people could not understand. You don't hear it anymore, kind pidgin. Like, you can write books, and they do have books about that kind of pidgin. And now, because of the work I do, because of the work I've done, the community groups and nonprofits and voluntold activities I've been involved with for what seems like forever, I feel like I know an uncountable amount of people, and some of you are here in this room. And growing up, it sure felt like my parents were the same way. Everywhere we went, on the street, in the car, on the sidewalk, they were always waving, always stopping to catch up, talk story, like time didn't exist. Yeah? Nothing else to do after. Yeah? Always a smile, a hug, a kiss on the cheek, an offer of help. Yeah, just a simple sidewalk conversation. Yeah. Like the old Hawaii Public Library commercials with the kids listing off their ethnicities. My parents knew everyone. And they treated everyone the same, with the same aloha. Hawaiian, Chinese, Filipino. Haole, Filipino, Hawaiian, Puerto Rican, Chinese. Full Portuguese, full Haole. Whatever, you name it. They stopped and talked with everyone. But in those days, even the people you didn't know didn't seem like they stayed that way for very long. They always went from being talked about, oh, the new family that moved into so-and-so's old place, yeah, the father works at so-and-so's. I seen the wife at the kind. The kids is kolohe, good athlete, well-behaved, you know. And then it changed to a friendly hi on the street, a party in the backyard, and to everyone knowing everyone and everything about everyone. At least that's how it seemed to a 10-year-old. I think about that Maui often. And I wonder if the way that I think about my Maui of the 80s and the 90s is how those of the generation before me and the generations before me think about the Maui of the 60s and the 70s, or the 40s and the 50s, which I never experienced. And now that I have kids, it makes me wonder, scary thought, if they'll think about the 2020s in the same way. Ugh. And it gets me thinking about another song, about Pakelo's nostalgic song. And if the Maui that he was missing wasn't because he was actually physically away from this island, but because time had kept moving, and he couldn't get back to that earlier Maui that was in his mind. Sing it with me if you remember it. There are rainbows in this valley on the night the stars were born. Every teardrop that I shed here, oh, how I long to go back home. Oh, where have you gone, my island Maui? I have left you, how I miss you so. All right, we could keep going, but we got a time limit. So, and maybe that's part of it, that once those formative childhood years are gone, it's not that Maui changes. It's that we got pulled away by time. That our young minds leave that part of history. And I don't know whether it's comforting or frightening to think that all the generations past have had the same time that I have in my mind, in my heart, in my memories, and that all the generations to come will have that same time for them. That the things that I dislike the most about Maui today are somebody else's core memories in the making. And that they'll look back on these things today with the same tearful nostalgia as I do from mine decades ago. But I do know one thing. I hope that the Maui of my children's youth is filled with many of the same memories that filled mine. Not of sugarcane and Paia General Store and the style of pidgin that no one speaks anymore. Those things are gone. But of those things I saw my parents do, that they probably saw their parents do, that I continue to do today. I hope my kids remember not just the empty smokestacks of their youth that were billowing cane smoke in mine, that they remember not just the hotel pool party birthdays or the fun factory, but they also remember me stopping on the street to talk story, to smile and shaka at passerbys, to stop for a hug and a kiss on the cheek, to feel like just a little bit, for a little moment in this insanely crazy world and busy life that we've created, that we can stop time for a moment with a sidewalk conversation. Mahalo.